Well, she's going to give a citizen statement.
Oh.
So I'm trying to see, make sure Angie has a chance to talk her out of it. All right. Okay. Good evening, everybody. It is after 6 o'clock, so let's begin this business meeting of Urbana School District 116. Roll call, please.
Member Cheryl, Member Hickson,
Here.
Member Amarabu, Member Jones, Member Langendorf here, Vice President Baxley,
Here.
President Pulowski.
Here, we do have a quorum this evening. Are there any additions, corrections, or modifications to tonight's agenda? Nope, okay. It is now a call for citizen statements. If anybody here present wishes to make a formal statement before the board, please hand a goldenrod sheet that's located in the back of the room to our recording secretary, Lori Johnson, and we'll acknowledge and allow you to speak. Going once. Going twice. Okay, no citizen statements this evening. There is no call for an executive session after tonight's meeting. The chair would then entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda as published.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. It's now time for our student ambassador report.
Our African American Club just took the HBCU trip to Washington, D.C., March 1st through 6th. So they toured many HBCUs, including Howard, Johns Hopkins, Georgetown, Bowie State, University of Maryland, Morgan State, Copen State, and Townsend. And then they did different activities throughout the days, like ice skating, and they explored the Smithsonian Museum of African American History and Culture.
And then student-led conferences are coming up. They are Thursday and Friday. They are Thursday afternoon, and I'm not sure when they go till. And then they start early in the morning on Friday as well. Students or teachers can register for conferences via the email that Principal Guzman sent out, or they can call the main office or email Mr. Ballinger in the main office as well.
Then our spring break is coming up next week. So March 16th through 20th is spring break, so no school at the high school, and it marks the end of the third quarter.
And then one more thing that isn't on the report. Yesterday was the UHS orchestra. That was yesterday. I believe it was 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock in the auditorium. And to my knowledge, that all went well. So congrats to them.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's now time for. So I'm going to ask the board's preference. Are we have a citizen statement that arrived late? Okay. Okay. Go ahead and. Jody, thanks. No, I get it.
Thank you. I just wanted to address the board really quick about science education and the importance of science education for our students. Right now, at elementary level, we are slotted about 30 minutes per week for science education, and we would like to try to see that increase because science is really important for our students as they age, but also for future career opportunities as they address and go to college. Things like engineering, biology, medicine, all of those things are require a lot of science education, and we don't have a lot of that right now. I also wanted to emphasize the importance of supplemental science projects like our agriculture department at the high school, our farm to school programs that allow students hands-on experiences at each of the buildings and their ability to learn while doing instead of just hearing about it. I would encourage the board to find ways to increase accessibility of more modern science equipment. I have a daughter who is a freshman in college right now, and she used a microscope twice in Urbana schools on 2 separate occasions. And she is in chemistry right now as a freshman at ISU and is not doing well in the course because she doesn't have an adequate background. I have a son who's a sophomore in high school right now at Urbana High School, and his favorite classes are those kinds of courses, like agriculture, science, and the other hands-on learning type of activities. And I've been a teacher for 25 plus years. Over half my career has been here in Urbana, and I was nominated for the Presidential Math Award a few years back, and science is really important. So I would just like to ask that the school board try to find ways to increase and go back to our focus on inquiry-based science and make sure that our students are prepared for their future, but also that they're enjoying their education. Every year at the end of kindergarten, I ask all my kindergarten students what their favorite memories of kindergarten are, and it has never once been a worksheet that they did for reading. It has never once been a phonics worksheet. It has never once been something out of their math packet. Not once. It has always been that they hatched chicks, that they got to dig and plant their own potatoes, that they got to learn about a social studies concept by having a big celebration and learning about the history topics. And it's not any different in the middle schoolers and the high schoolers. Those are the things they remember. They remember their orchestra concerts. They remember what they built in engineering class. And we don't have enough of any of those things right now. And I just want to make sure that as you guys are preparing for funding for the upcoming year and the upcoming next 5-year plan and all of those things, that we find ways to update all of our science equipment. So, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
I mean, we don't really have interactions with citizen statements, but you could do, and you can make a comment in your board report too, but speaking of board reports, now it's time for board reports. Anybody wish to make?
Things, I do want to thank, it's nice to have community here to make a comment, and I appreciate everything that you said. And I was just wondering how much science they had before in the classroom, how much time they had. She said it was just 1/2 an hour, so I just wanted possibly that in the future to be addressed. I was able to attend the Kiddie Prom at the Early Childhood Center last Friday. Kelly Russell from CU Early told me that the children have a wonderful time, so I stopped by to see what that was all about, and she was right. The children were dressed in their party clothes and dancing to DJ Lupe's selections, and it was great to see so many families that came out for this event. It was really nice to see. But there was no room on the floor. I had to go home. There was not room for me to dance. But anyways, also learned at the last minute about the concert last night in the auditorium, and the high school chamber orchestra, the symphonic orchestra, and the Parkland Orchestra combined under the direction of Dr. Rodney Mueller from Parkland College. And evidently he had spent 3 weeks working with the students at the high school to prepare for this concert. So it was a wonderful opportunity for them. And there must have been over 100 musicians on the stage. Tamara Gingold directed a few numbers in the beginning, and she wanted to convey her appreciation to the board, to the school district, for how the district supports all the students in the musical programs. But I think on the reverse, I think we need to thank the music educators, because they bring so much to our students. This is a skill and an interest that the students will have for their entire lives. And we get to benefit by attending their concerts. So I'm hoping that they'll be readily available as far as it being displayed on the website, so people know about all the ones. I know about the one in the jazz concert in May. It's a wonderful opportunity. The Commons is dressed up so beautifully, and you don't even know it's a lunchroom. It's really a nice place, and the music is wonderful. There's also a Raising Futures conference on March 28th at the iHotel. I just learned about that this morning. The theme is Hope in Challenging Times. It's for parents, caregivers, and educators. The goal is to build a stronger, connected community, fostering hope and resilience for the future of our youth. And it's sponsored by the Don Moyers Boys and Girls Club, United Way, and the Champaign County Home Visiting Consortium. So look into that. It might be interesting.
Any other board reports this evening? I have a quick one. We received I've received here at my desk a letter from Donald Langdon Zhang, student at 2029 student at Leal Elementary School. So, dear Board of Education, I think we should have each class for 1 hour. First, kids will listen better because it will be told a shorter amount of time. Second, kids will move to a different room each hour. Lastly, this will shorten teaching time so kids can have more time to work at home. Sincerely, Donald, please respond to Donald Lang, Leal Elementary. So, anyway, I'll respond to him. But if anybody has particular comments they want me to respond to Donald, let me know. That's it for board reports this evening. Moving on to administrative reports. Secondary strategic plan update.
And I would love to be able to copy that and give it to Principal Kier at Leo. I'm sure he would love to have that letter,
Absolutely.
to see a copy of that. That's awesome. Okay, so I am going to get us started here with just the first few slides. So again, our focus tonight is, as you know, culture and climate is a significant goal in our strategic plan in our program council space. We've talked about it a lot. All of our small strategic plan groups have been working with Chastity and doing some really intensive work looking at our discipline data and our referral data, our exclusionary practices data. So we thought it would be really relevant after the ISB presentation around our discipline improvement plan to also bring you some of the areas that we're focusing on through our school improvement activities, through some of our strategic plan work, and give you some positive information related to our use of exclusionary practices beyond just what we have to turn in for the state board. So that session and that those presentations are very pointed in terms of what we have to present, what we're required to present, because the board is supposed to be aware of our discipline data, and so it's really important that we bring that forward, and because Paul has to sign off on the fact that he's seen it and the board has received that info. But tonight we don't want to focus on that. We want to focus on some of the positives that our administrators, some of the hard work that they're doing, their school improvement teams are doing, their deans, all of the folks that are involved in improving our culture and climate. So tonight we're going to talk about, I just kind of gave you the rationale why we're doing this update. We're going to look at our district-wide systems. We're going to have each administrator, Imani Carr, principal at the 6th grade center, is starting us off. And we're going to look at 6th grade, middle school, and high school. And we're going to let each administrator really talk about the systems that they have implemented. We have a couple new administrators who are in their first year, so it's a great opportunity for you to hear specifically what they are doing as first-year principals to monitor discipline, to make sure that there are accountability measures in place, to look at that discipline as a team, sharing that information with their staff during staff meetings or staff development days. And they're all doing that in different ways. So we're going to give you an opportunity to hear from them specifically. We are going to talk about out-of-school suspension incidents today. That's going to be the focus of this discussion, is how we are working really hard to improve the number of days that our students are out of school. I know that is a big part of the ISB discipline improvement data and why we get cited. So we want to show you some multi-year data and how those numbers have gone down in terms of the numbers of days that students are out, as well as we are seeing some decreases in the percentages related to out-of-school suspension events. The administrator is going to talk about the positive work that they're doing. Tonight, we really want to focus on Tier 1, which is, as you know, those are the measures that school-wide everyone receives. Remember those triangles? The Tier 1 is what every student in the building receives, and our Tier 2 supports, they're going to talk a little bit about those, are those measures that sometimes we have students who need their Tier 1 on top of the Tier 2. And then they're going to share some areas for growth, because we all have areas we can grow in as leaders, as well as our teams and our educators. So we really want to make sure that we're talking about, we know we have growth but they are working really hard to see improvements in that data. And just make sure that everyone is aware how this aligns to the strategic plan. So next. Again, I'm not going to read all of this because you have seen it multiple times now, but I think it's really important that we're grounding our work in the goals that we wrote with our stakeholders. We had educators, parents, students, community members involved in creating these goals. So I like to make sure that we're putting them up so everyone knows that we are aware of these goals and we're working really hard to reach these goals. So one of our focuses is to ensure that we're decreasing our exclusionary practices while we focus on increasing some of our positive behaviors. And we have a yearly goal for each one of these areas. So this first one is decreasing discipline referrals for our Black students, our students with IEPs, compared to the 2024-25 data. And we can go to the next one. And the way that we're doing that is all the things that I just talked about. Weekly monitoring, discipline meetings, reviewing the data, looking at our dashboard. And we've talked with you about Panorama, which is a system where we're storing a lot of that information, and so that is being reviewed regularly. We are going to go to the next slide. Also, again, using focusing on positive behaviors to decrease exclusionary practices. Again, this is the goal around the sense of belonging, that we want to increase our students' sense of belonging so they're more engaged and they basically want to be in school. And we can go to the next one. I'm going through these quickly because I don't want to do the talking. I want you guys to hear from our administrators. And then our next goal is really increasing that sense of belonging by 12%. Using the Panorama data that we get right now. We just finished our Panorama survey data, so I hope all parents went in and completed that because we utilize that information through the student surveys, through the staff surveys, as well as we don't put the parent survey data in here, but we actually really do look at the parent survey data and take what our parents are sharing with us into account as well. And lastly, making sure that we are looking at our Tier 3 supports in Panorama and the multi-tier systems of supports, MTSSs. When we say that, that's what we mean. That we are writing individual intervention plans for our students. And so if you go back to that slide you were just on. So Panorama was fairly new 2 or 3 years ago, but we have more and more people at the building level going in and putting plans in place where we are not just looking at a student's academics and their behavior, we're looking at their attendance, we're looking at a lot of the other supports that they have in place. So utilizing all the supports and systems that we have available to us to do whatever we can to decrease our exclusionary practices and increase the positive behaviors and positive things that we're doing in our schools. So I am going to now switch it if you want to go. Yep. So let's talk a little bit about the data. So I'm very quick. You've had this information since Friday. So if you have any questions, you can ask those now, or you can wait until our administrators come up and give you a little bit more specific information by level. So I just wanted to start off kind of looking at our district data there because they're going to come up and talk more about what's happening in their schools. But this slide is really important because we are looking at fall 2022. We know we have another whole quarter to go, so we're not, putting up, school year data yet. We'll be able to talk to you about that in June. But right now, kind of comparing apples to apples, we looked at our suspension incidents from 2022 when we first started getting those ISB designations for discipline, our disproportionality for some of our exclusionary practices and our suspension events. So you can see where we were in 2022. So as a district, 443, and now as a at the beginning of the fall or at the end of fall, which would have been December, as a district we've gone down 47%, and you can see each of the schools has also gone down in terms of looking at fall 2022 and fall 2025. And then the next slide, we want to talk to you a little bit about where we are right now. So looking at our January and February data, just to show that first semester wasn't just a fluke. It wasn't just like the honeymoon period for some of our new folks, that the systems and things that they're putting in place really are making a difference. So we're seeing that beyond just those first few weeks or first few months of school. Now we're into second semester, and we're still seeing those decreases. So as a district, in January, February 2024, we had 170 suspension incidents. And January, February 2026, we were down 8 to 81. So that is a 52% decrease in those suspension, out-of-school suspension incidents. And you can see our schools were also all down when compared to 2024 to where we are currently. And lastly, I know we have had this conversation sometimes. You know, I think people see those numbers and it is alarming. And, but we also have conversations around, there are times where, and the administrator's gonna talk about this a little bit, where there are a handful of students who are very significantly impacting the data for all. And so I think it's important to note the number of days that are related to out-of-school suspensions, because we may have a small group of students who might do something really egregious and need a 8-day or a 9-day or those suspensions that come to you guys, unfortunately, as possible expulsions. All of those incidents involve 10 days every single time we look at one of those. So if we look at the total number of days out of school from fall 2022, as a district, that is a really high number, which 1,170. And I do want to say, and I didn't say this earlier, but this is, you know, when we look at those really high numbers, if you remember, and I hate to talk about the pandemic, but it's relevant, so I think we should put it out there. So, you know, we had a whole year of our students not being in person for learning from in 2020 to 2021. So when they all came back, fall of 2021, it was hard. And a lot of the students who came back to us after being home for a year and a half almost, because they went home in March of 2020 and didn't come back until August of 2021, it was difficult. And so that number, that 1,170, sounds like a lot, and it was a lot. But I think what we have done to really improve that number and put some more systems and structures. Basically, what we were just talking in our principals meeting before we came over to this meeting about some of our mental health needs that our students have, that those weren't as prevalent 2 or 3 years ago. So we're just addressing the whole child in a very different way than I think we have ever before following the pandemic. And we see it in the culture and climate data every day. So we are holding kids together, we're holding families together, and some of the needs that our kids come to school with every day are really intense. And we could tell you lots of stories. We're not going to do that tonight, but I do think there is an impact on our discipline data, and we are seeing it. But thankfully, we saw how hard it was, and it really challenged all of us, administrators, our teachers and educators, people working in our schools. But thankfully, we are starting to see that pendulum is shifting to more of the positive. So as a district, we had 2 years that weren't great. So fall of 2022 and fall of 2023, those numbers are really high. But then we started looking at, we had some new administrators join our team. We put in quite a few systems and structures. We put in a student behavior continuum system through the Joint Student Discipline Committee that was working jointly with the UEA, with our union. And we can see the benefit of that in some of those really hard conversations about student data. So in 2024, that is a great decrease in the number of suspension days, and then even more so now in the fall of 2025. And if you flip to the other side of this table, we can see that pendulum is still swinging in the positive direction. So those numbers compared to January and February of 2024, we're still seeing those decreases. So this data is meant to show you that there are a lot of positive things happening. And I know sometimes when you see things on social media, you hear people talking about it in the community, they don't maybe understand the data as well. So, I think it's our job as administrators and board members and people who work in our schools every day to make sure that the people in the community and then the public recognize how hard we are working to make a positive shift in the culture and climate in our schools. So I'm going to stop talking, and we are going to let our administrators come up, and we're going to start with 6th grade, and they are going to share some systems data and systems activities and initiatives, talk about the positive impact and why these numbers are going down, and then share how they see what they want to focus on for growth. So we're going to start with Principal Carr.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to come and speak with you about our data. So at the 6th grade center, this being a new building, we wanted to focus very heavily at the beginning of the year on building some routines and procedures with our students and really teaching them explicitly how to be a middle schooler, how to be a 6th grader. And so a lot of what we did at the beginning of the year was cultivating the culture of what it means to be a 6th grader and how that looks, how it looks in all of the spaces that our 6th graders utilize in our space. We created SGC Tiger Pride, which is focused on having compassion. So we pulled the P out of compassion, being resilient, demonstrating integrity, having determination, and walking in the spirit of excellence, and our universal pledges, which are we are kind and responsible, and we are safe. And then our teacher, Dr. Well, he's not a doctor yet, but Brandon Young, he came up with a chant that he taught to our students so that they could really get some of that tiger pride at the 6th grade center. And so we do that. It ends with a good roar at the end. And so students really love that. We have, of course, continued some things that started when we were a whole 6-8 building. So that first and 10 minutes of class that they're not allowed to be out on the path, really trying to cherish and hold tight to that instructional time in the classroom, and then wrapping it up at the end with a focus on the closure of a lesson. So we want all students to be in the learning space in those first and last 10 minutes. We have a universal call and response where an administrator or a staff member may call out SGC Tigers, and the students will scream pride, and they know that means that they're at voice level 0, part of our CHAMPS procedures in the building as well. And so we get a lot of feedback on that. We've implemented CHAMPS as part of the STOIC framework, and so teaching them the structures that are to be in place, really being explicit about that, observing it and making sure that we're tracking student responses, and also holding ourselves responsible for that. And so getting into classrooms, me and Ms. Delgado, our assistant principal there, getting into classrooms, making sure that we are being as consistent as we need to be with those structures and putting things in place so that we have that consistency across the board, and students know they won't go in one classroom and it's one way and another classroom is totally different, but having some of the same languages that we're using and same systems. We've implemented a lot of consistent ways to celebrate the culture and diversity that's in our space, because we know that our students will have a sense of pride if they feel that they belong in that space. And so we do a lot of intentional things to identify the cultural backgrounds that are represented in our building, and we highlight and celebrate those things, and we really hone on students' voice in those instances. We conduct weekly tardy sweeps, and so they never know when a tardy sweep is going to be called, but they know it's really just reinforcing that we really take pride in our attendance, and we want to get to class on time, make sure that we're there when the learning begins. We have SRSs that are spread out throughout our building, and they're placed strategically to monitor classroom and hallway activity. And so students know there's a system for when they're coming out of a classroom. They either have to have a pass or an escort. And so the SRS is there to make sure, oh, do I see that pass? You're on the no pass list, or you need an escort, and really reinforcing those expectations in place. We engage in analyzing our data on a regular basis to make sure that our MTSS system systems are working properly, and we pull the data to make sure if there are things that we need to adjust, that we have those conversations and we put adjustments in place. If we notice that students are not responding like we would like, then we figure out why that is and we adjust accordingly. So some of our tiered things that we have in place for Tier 1, I engage in car convos, which is basically a PBIS reset with our students regularly. And so when they have long breaks like our winter break or spring break that's coming up, they know that they're going to be sitting with Ms. Carr and revisiting those expectations. So we go over the routines that are in place, and I remind them of the expectations, and they engage, and I ask them specific questions and they respond. Our Win Wednesday is our day where we focus a lot heavily on SDL, and so that's when we will implement our 7 Mindsets lessons, and we do that across the building, and so everyone stops and they engage in a 7 Mindset lesson so that we push that message that this is about us as a whole building and not just in specific classes. Again, I've talked about champs. We have daily announcements that highlight a Sabre Spotlight student, and so that's when we are tracking students that are implementing the routines that we put in place, and we want to highlight them in our daily announcements. And I give them a shout out at the end of the day, and they come down for a Sabre Spotlight prize, and that can be a number of different things that they can pull out of a kind of a token container that I keep in my office. We do team and school-wide incentives, so we have school-wide things that we focus on, and then each team looks at their individual data to see where their team as a whole is struggling, and we'll put in some incentives in place to kind of push students to make sure that they're rising to the occasion. We have family weekly newsletters, and we have staff weekly newsletters where we highlight PBIS things, we reiterate our lessons for 7 Mindset, and celebrate things that are going well, and then we continue to ask for a collective support from our stakeholders on things that we need to improve upon. At Tier 2, we use Panorama for our Tier 2 MTSS process, and we use the playbook that's in Panorama to identify some interventions that are handy for addressing some of the behaviors that we're seeing. SAIG groups, so we really wrap around students and try to support them in every aspect. So we're looking at the whole child and not just how they are in an academic sense, but who they are as a human being. And so we put in things that need to be put in place. If there are students that haven't learned how to resolve conflicts properly, then we might put in some behavior contracts or some no contact agreements until we can help them develop the skills they need to resolve conflicts without resulting to physical engagement. We have champions that are designated to check in with students that are on some type of intervention, so they have regular meetings with those students once a week to kind of see how they're progressing and building those skills. And then, of course, we implement some restorative conversations and circles and are training our SRS in that process as well, so that because they often will build even more positive relationships with students because they see them all the time in the hallway. So we're wanting to make sure that they have a set of strategies at their fingertips that they can use as well. The positive impacts that we've seen with these things is that the transition to 6th grade for our 5th graders that came in has been successful. And if there were hiccups that we observed, then we were able to address them. We've established positive and supportive relationships between students and staff, and then we also focus on making sure that our staff-to-staff relationships are positive, because we know that students observe how we interact with one another, and that often can influence how they interact with us as well. We work very hard to really reinforce a positive school culture and climate, soliciting student voice, soliciting family members' voice and community voice to see what we can do better. Really pushing that with the 5 Essential survey that we just took, making sure that, hey, we want to know what are areas that we need to focus on so that we can make sure to make the adjustments necessary to really target our data as we continue to move forward. This helped us set a precedent for positive student outcomes in our MAP goal. We were able to exceed in our reading MAP scores. We didn't quite hit the mark yet at our math, but we have already determined what we're going to do to address that, and we're looking forward to looking at our spring data to see how those things resulted in positive student outcomes. Overall in our building, we have 304 students, and out of those 304, 281 have never received an out-of-school suspension. 12 of them have received a one-day out-of-school suspension or one out-of-school suspension. 3 of our students have received 2 to 3 out-of-school suspensions, and 8 students have received more than 3 out-of-school suspensions that we're addressing with the MTSS process, pulling in parents to have those problem-solving conversations about how we can better support their students in the classroom to make sure that they are staying in the school. And so we're working together with our stakeholders to find ways, and we're soliciting partnerships out in the community to come in and kind of act as mentors to our students who are struggling. Things that we are going to continue to focus and work on is consistent implementation of CHAMPS, which I was talking about earlier. So in our walkthroughs, we're looking for that consistent messaging that we're spreading across the building. So we're ensuring that we're not just talking about it in one space, but that we're making sure to implement it across all spaces with consistency. Because we know that the better we are at making sure to put in solid structures and routines in place, then the students are more easily to engage, and that will lead to better behavioral outcomes and less opportunity for students to be suspended and excluded from the learning environment. We're making some adjustment to our Wednesdays schedule so that we make sure that the goals that we reached in language arts, we're going to reach in math. And as I was stating, we've already made some changes there, and so we're looking forward to see how those changes will impact our data. We are looking at altering some programs in our Restore You space, and making it more a preventative space where we do a lot of restorative and skill building to help students reach the skills that they need to so they can continue to be successful, not just academically, but behavioral, mentally, and emotionally. And developing an increase in building-wide incentives to make sure that we're highlighting those positive behaviors that we're seeing the majority of our students engage in. And we want to continue to build partnerships in the community, so increasing stakeholder involvement and getting more feedback so that we can continue to grow as a whole. And that's our 6th grade report.
Questions for Ms. Carr before we go on UMS? Anybody?
You mentioned the partnerships that you have. What are some of those?
So I am also, in my personal life, I'm part of this First String organization and have been for 16 years. And so I work closely with them on how they can come in and provide some mentorship. I've also reached out to some of their connections. So a lot of the community members that are part of First String also have connections outside of that. And so I specifically reached out to get some support for our young male students who are struggling, because predominantly we're seeing that it's our Black male students. And so bringing in community members to come in and act as mentors, so they will start coming in. We've already had some groups coming in, but then more will be coming in after spring break to kind of sit down and have lunch with them, talk about what is it that you're struggling with, really build some connections with them so they get to see that outside of the school community, there are better opportunities for them.
What efforts are being put in place, I guess, planning-wise, for as these students matriculate into the 7th and 8th, into UMS, for the kids who needs additional supports, or just in general, I'm making these cultural changes that have taken place in the 6th grade center, they kind of matriculate all the way through UMS.
Yeah. I definitely, we are collecting a lot of data so we can get our students start off on the right foot. And so I think that a lot of the structures we've put in place have solidly helped them figure out how to navigate at the middle school level. And so I think they will have some skills already in place when they do transition to 7A. They'll know how to navigate the hallway the way they should. They'll prioritize being organized and getting to their classes on time. But also what we're doing now to prepare them for that is really talking about, okay, what is it that you are struggling with and how can we support? And then having conversations, making those connections with the middle school so that we have an idea of, okay, these students we might need to really kind of wrap around at the beginning of the year and put these measures in place. This is what we've tried. This is what has been successful. This is what has not been successful, so that we can start them off at the 7th and 8th grade building on the right foot. Because we have a lot of students that I think will transition just fine, but the ones we are most concerned about, we're doing some proactive things to make sure that they have a solid footing when they get over there.
And then I'll add some tier 2, tier 3 pieces. So right now we're sitting in Tiger Academy, and as the board knows and our audience knows, this year we are only serving Urbana High School students here because we took a year to do some intentional planning around with the basically what Paul just said, with the starting of the sixth grade center. How can we help those sixth graders really generalize some of the learning and do some of the more intentional things that happen here in Tiger Academy, but at UMS. I think what we saw the year that the middle schoolers were here, or maybe 2 years, it was really difficult for them to practice some of the things they were learning, be in these really small one-on-one and small group situations, and then generalize that behavior back to 900 students, and now 600 students next year. So we right now have a planning committee. Principal Kearns and Dr. Wemel are co-chairing that. I'm just there as support. And we have some members like teachers, coordinators, CO people who have gotten together, and we're starting to plan a short-term and long-term option for a Tiger Academy that will be in the middle school building, not here. So those students can then learn, there'll be a lot of teaching, social skill learning, and then they can earn their way into the general ed environment and practice some of those behaviors, like go to lunch with their peers or their team, or being involved in some kind of team activity. So they get to practice the things that they would be learning in that smaller setting for several weeks before they're put back on a team with 100 students to be able to show I know how to be a seventh grader. And so we're in the middle of kind of building what that's going to look like with this team of folks. And then hopefully by the end of the year, we've made some great progress already. And then we will hopefully be able to come back and tell the board more about that in June. So that
And
is
now-
for that tier 2, like Ms. Carr was talking very much about, like every student, we're trying to do these things tier 1. But this is more of like a tier 3 even, because right now we're focusing on, not 40 students, but a really narrow, small group who would be part of this short-term or long-term opportunity. So, yeah.
And one of the things that we're doing with that in mind right now is because we know we have that handful of students that might struggle, is having those conversations with families now and talking with them about, okay, what are your concerns for the transition over to 7th grade? What are our concerns, and where has the student struggled, and allowing the student to voice where they feel comfortable and what has them feeling maybe a little anxious about the transition, and really having those, candid conversation about, well, this is the strategy that is going to help you, but these are the behaviors that you're demonstrating that will allow you to struggle if we can't figure out how to create some strategies, build those skills, and then be successful. So really just involving all stakeholders in that conversation so that it's not a shock when we get over to the 7th, 8th grade building.
And I think one thing our group, because we have a couple social workers that are part of that team, is one thing I think we are noting is I think people focus too much on the students who are externalizing and, having all the conduct issues. But we have a core group of kids who just struggle with anxiety. They struggle with being enlarged. There are a few I know at the 6th grade center who choose to eat outside the lunchroom because just the sounds and all the activity is overwhelming and too stimulating. So we know we want to have that as a short-term option because there are going to be some students who are going to need, just because of their anxiety and a space where they can have a little slower start, like a slow roll into UMS. And I think this smaller setting for the UMS Tiger Academy is going to be really helpful for those kiddos. So.
So just to understand, so you are thinking about actually starting some of the present-day sixth graders in this smaller Tiger Academy at the very beginning of the 7th and 8th grade year.
Yeah, this is when they are now 7th graders. They're not 6th graders anymore. So this would be
Right.
at the start of the next school
Right,
year.
that's
Yeah.
what I meant,
Yes,
yeah.
yep.
Yeah, and so they would actually begin their 7th grade year in this smaller
Setting to kind of.
and would that also be used for children who were misbehaving, and it, like, instead of a suspension, or, would it be used in two ways, or?
No, it's not going to be. It is not going to be a alternative to suspension space. It is going to be a very intentional, learning focused space where we have educators, we have TAs that are going to be assigned to be with those students. So it won't be I'm here because I got in trouble and I'm suspended for 2 or 3 days. So not an alternative to suspension space at all. More so recouping social skills, really intensive teaching. Students are going to have to earn points and show that they can demonstrate. I have these skills. I know how to show these skills in a learning setting. And so we know that some students are going to only need a couple weeks of that, and just to kind of figure it out. But then we know that we want to have a long-term option, because there might be some kids who need to be there for 6 weeks or 8 weeks, or so I think we're trying to be flexible with what that space would look like. So,
And then, as you identify other children who might need that quieter space, smaller group space, you would add those students to it, I presume, like even like an 8th grader who is struggling might
Yeah,
be
I
put
think,
there.
I'm sure Ms. Kearns will be able to speak to that
Yes.
specifically, but yes, she and I and the middle school team will collaborate on at least the rising 7th graders that will be going in. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. And could I just ask one question? The WIN, that was what I need, right?
Yes.
Okay, I was trying to remember. And so then that is kind of each student, there would be groups of students working at different levels for that day. And so do we have teachers? Will they be working with teachers, or will they be working on computers at their?
So in our building, we have our WIN is focused on closing those achievement gaps. And so all of our teachers, including our elective teachers and team teachers, they are all focused on, we look at our map data and say, for example, if students are struggling with identifying main idea and supporting details, then what we've done is look at our map data and focus on the skills that are lacking. And then so everyone teaches a focus on that skill that's relative to their content area. So for our elective teachers, it's an infusion of their content area with the skills that we're working to build in our students. But we do that all day long on Wednesdays.
Okay, and so it's all teacher-led?
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. How's everyone doing? Great. All right, so I am Melissa Kearns. I'm the principal of UMS, and we're really excited to share with you some really exciting data and things that have been going well at UMS. And so I have someone with me that I'll let them introduce themselves. You have your own.
Wow. I'm Derek Ely. I am Miss Kearns' associate principal over UMS.
And so Mr. Ely and I are excited to share, on the first slide, we're going to talk about the systems that we've kind of put in place this school year to kind of improve the culture and climate of the building. So as Ms. Carr kind of shared, and Dr. Avery Tatum shared, the behavior continuum is something that the district committed to through the Joint Discipline Committee. And so what that looks like is really just making informed decisions when students do get into conduct on what happens next, looking at like their prior incidents, looking at attendance, grades, different things that we look at in terms of what do we do next. And so for us, we wanted to really look at taking a step back from that and determining like what are the expectations and behaviors that we want middle school kids to have in our building. So we spent some time re-looking at the school-wide expectation matrix, and so we've redone that, and that's hosted in every classroom, every alternative space, where we talk to kids about what does it mean to be safe, be respectful, and being kind. We also implemented the first and last 10-minute expectation to protect instructional time. So we actually do not allow students to leave the classroom unless it's a complete emergency during the first 10 and the last 10 minutes of the period. That has worked out wonders in terms of reducing tardies, just making sure students are prepared for learning, and they're able to go right to class right away. We also have taken some time as well to dig into CHAMPS. And so we've done a lot of really cool work with our staff in terms of improving their tool belt on the different skills and strategies that as teachers they need to help build student expectations in the day-to-day classroom. And so we've done some really unique professional learning with our teachers around what does it mean to have these skills, what does it look like to teach students these skills, and then how do you provide support when they don't. And how do you get creative in the classroom to make sure instructional engagement is at the highest priority so that behavior is minimized. And so that's been going really well. With that being said, similar to Principal Carr, our SRS stations are strategically placed around the building. So we utilize them as utilize a triage model at our building. So our SRSs are some of our first responders. So they're able to help support classroom environments where maybe a new teacher is struggling or maybe a student is having a moment that they need some extra support. They're right there in the hallways, right there by the classrooms, and can be that first responder to kind of support. And then our deans and admin will support as necessary. We also did a lot of work taking over UMS this year around room assignments and team placements in the building. So we wanted to really create a space where 7th and 8th graders were kept completely separate for lots of different reasons. And so that has been really successful in terms of keeping students in 7th grade on one side of the building and keeping 8th graders on their side of the building. The only time that they would see each other is arrival and dismissal, and we prefer to keep it that way. And there's lots of reasons for that, but I think what we've seen is room placements, placement of elective classes, putting kids in close proximity to the things that they need and not allowing a lot of transition has really cut down on some of the hallway behaviors and just some of the safety concerns that were presenting themselves in past years. And then in addition, tardy sweeps. We actually have a school-wide year-long incentive that we use. It's called Pokemon Catch 'em. So if you're familiar with Pokemon, you know that middle schoolers like Pokemon. They like to collect the cards, right? So we actually have shirts that have ourselves as Bitmojis, and we actually wear them on tardy sweep day, and then we sweep the hallways, and we kind of tell the kids, like, hey, we're sweeping, like, like in the moment, not ahead of time. But then the kids know, like, they try not to be caught. And if they're not caught, they get a threshold of incentives, from chips to apple nachos, all kinds of cool stuff. And so the kids have really been bought into that system, and they really enjoy it, and they think it's fun when we wear our shirts. And so we've continued to do that. Similar to Principal Carr as well, we have the WIN structure that we utilize. We actually do ours 5 days a week, so Monday through Friday. It's a joint focus, so half of the week we use doing organizational skills through our AVRID program. So they're doing planner checks, binder checks, grade checks, reflections with the students, and then the other days of the week they're doing the SEL 7 Mindsets curriculum that the district has adopted. Second semester we'll be changing a little bit to doing some college and career readiness items, especially for our 8th grade students to prep them for UHS, and so that's really exciting. In addition, you'll see in the 2 boxes, that's a lineup of our Tier 1 and Tier 2 strategies and interventions that we use. In Tier 1, like I mentioned, we have the WIN block, which all students take part in. They do a 30-minute lunch and a 30-minute WIN class. We utilize CHAMPS. Our daily announcements are done every day, second period, and we have a plethora of different things that we talk about on the student announcements. They're actually quite positive, and students are really enjoying those. School-wide incentives, like I mentioned, we're doing a lot with like tardy sweeps. We also do attendance incentives. So kids are getting an opportunity to be rewarded for the things that they're doing that are positive in their school. And I think that's making a huge impact. We've had numerous kids this year email us like, it's so happy to be appreciated and valued for doing the right thing. And so those things are really unique and has really improved the culture and climate of our building. Deans and admin talks, we do those all the time. Sometimes we do them as a preemptive, like Principal Carr said, after a break or after a long period of time being out of school, we might revisit some things. But we also do them just to connect with our kids and just to say, hey, how's it going? Things like testing, just wanting to build culture and climate around things that matter, especially MAP testing, state testing, that sort of thing. Our teams do individual checks with students. A lot of us as admin have students that we show up for every day that come and connect with us, from everything from do you want to have lunch to how's it going at home. And so we spend a lot of time with a lot of kids during the day, checking in at lunch, seeing them at arrival, seeing them at dismissal, and that makes a huge difference. The last one is restorative practices and circles. We're utilizing that building wide as a way to solve issues. As you know, middle school presents a lot of things, including a lot of peer conflict, and sometimes students are not sure how to navigate that. And so we're really pushing our kids to communicate the right way on that there's a problem, and having us as adults kind of help facilitate those restorative circles to work through some of that conflict. And so it doesn't result in any conduct issues with their peers and bigger things. From the tier 2 end of things, we have a lot of kids who love check-ins with adults. And so we have something called Check and Connect. They basically work with a student weekly, check in as their champion, say, how's it going? How are your grades? How's your attendance? Let's talk, let's communicate, let's get on the same page. That's been a really super innovative intervention that we've used. Check-in, check-out is always also a great support. It tends to be a smaller number of kids and maybe the first champion program doesn't work for. SAGE groups, as I mentioned, social, academic, instructional groups are used, and those are targeted groups. So we have groups that are around academic survival, we have circles and groups that are around conflict resolution, and those are mainly a result of students receiving referrals or receiving a referral from a teacher saying, hey, this kid really could use an extra, group or something to kind of connect them to peers who are having similar difficulties. And so those groups are meeting, and then they do goal setting and things like that to kind of help the student. Mr. Ely and his team of deans do student success plans. So when a student has received a decent number of conduct things that we're like starting to get concerned about, or the intensity is there, he's meeting with them and the family, and they write a student success plan where they're going through making some plans for checks on Fridays, behavior, academic, and grades. And we meet with them with Fidelity on Fridays to check in and look at all of those things to try to help them turn the corner. And then the last piece is the referral to the MTSS tiered team. We have a pretty big team, tier 2 and tier 3 at UMS. You'll hear later data around how many kids are receiving a support. The support could be anything from a high five to a check-in to a stop by my room and tell me about your day. Like, we have kids that are receiving support in lots of different ways. It's not just the formalized things. Sometimes it's the little things that we're documenting too that will take them into high school and hopefully be really successful. Perfect. The next one that we're going to talk about is the second slide, so it's positive impacts. Like I mentioned, a lot of the systems and structures we put into place are affecting our school culture and climate, which is exactly what the intention was. We've also seen a huge increase in the amount of school safety that our students are feeling and also our parents are feeling, which is, I think, the goal is obviously to access student learning for our kids and for those opportunities to be maximized, and we're seeing those results. We saw that in MAP, both ELA and math. We met our 50% projection, which is a huge thing for UMS teachers. We actually had a cake and ice cream party with the teachers that we made that growth target because people thought at the beginning of the year is pretty lofty, like, why are we choosing such a lofty goal? And we're glad we did because we were able to do it, put some attention towards it, put some specific things in place, and have made it. We also have a lot of 8th graders on track. So we're looking at making sure that we're able to pass the absolute best 8th grade class to Mr. Guzman and his team at the high school to make sure that they're able to remain as freshmen on track and beyond. And in the next part, I'm going to let Mr. Ely share a little bit about our data.
Yeah, so I'd like to talk about the numbers of students who have actually received out-of-school suspensions. It's easier for me to wrap my mind around percentages rather than actual, the numbers. So we have an enrollment of 596, nearly 600 students. So 508, or 85% of our students, have received 0 out-of-school suspensions. Those who have received 1 is under 10%, so 53 of our students. 26, or 4%, have received 2 to 3, and only 1.5% of our students have received 3 or more out-of-school suspensions so far this entire school year.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Ely. And the exciting part at the bottom is probably the most powerful statement on any of our slides. We have 131 students that have been referred for a support in the building, and at this point, 227 kids are accessing some type of support at UMS. So if you think about how many kids, that's almost half of our population is accessing some type of support in the building, which of course is going to have its positive impact on what we do in the day-to-day. The last slide that we're going to look at is focus areas for improvement. So again, I think we want to continue to focus on CHAMPS. We want to make sure that all of our teachers continue to build their tool belt around classroom management and what that looks like within the school. We want to increase the programming for RU. We've done a lot this year to kind of make sure that when students are going to RU, they have meaningful things to do. They're doing reflection assignments, they're having meaningful conversations, they're actually solving the problems before they go back to class. That's been a big ask for us for that space. And we want to continue to prioritize that high level of reflection, but also the problem solving support. So we want to make sure that the students that are accessing that space are then automatically being referred to the system of support. We also want to continue reviewing and drafting more rigorous academic skill and performance standards for the school year. We want to let kids know right off the bat that when they're in the 7-8 building, they're on their way to high school. And so we want to establish some sort of system to make sure they understand that when they do go to high school, they're going to have to earn credits, they're going to have to, do things in a certain order to make sure that they are able to meet high school requirements and be able to apply for the best colleges and the best jobs. And so for us, we kind of have to roll that backwards to determine what that looks like at UMS for specifically middle school. So we want to do some work around that. And then the last part is we want to always continue to create additional opportunities for students to be rewarded for engaging in, not only giving them attention for the unexpected behaviors, but continuing to honor the expected behaviors. We've been doing a celebration this year called Shining Scholars, where students that meet academic and behavior guidelines are honored. And we've completely filled the cafeteria with kids that are excited about getting a certificate and being honored for doing the right thing always. And we want to continue to highlight that in the work that we do on the day-to-day. Thank you so much.
Board members, any questions?
I have one. For students who receive more than three out of school suspensions, are those including students who are in both Tier 2 and Tier 3?
Could be. So some of the students for sure would be experiencing Tier 1 supports. All of them would be experiencing Tier 2 and possibly Tier 3, depending on a variety of factors. Some of our students have 504 plans, some of them have IEP plans. We also have had a couple students that have gone through the expulsion process. And so as Dr. Avery Tatum mentioned earlier, a lot of times that results in a 10-day suspension right off the bat for some of those students. And so that would be what's contributing to that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? I guess, thank you so much.
Okay, you all know I need help with that. I struggle with this mic every time I come here. So, first and foremost, I just want to give a shout out to Principal Carr and Principal Kearns. As you know, this is their first year as principals, and they've done a lot of work. And to look at that data and to see how far they've taken it their first year, and believe me, I was an administrator for 10 years at the middle level. It's not easy. It is not easy, and to see the work and what they've put into place is amazing. And so I just want to make sure that they get the proper shout out for the work that they are doing with their teams, because it is not easy every day at the middle level. And with that, I have a guest with me here. Full transparency, we have been together for about 10 plus years on this journey in admin. And so I'll let you introduce yourself and what you do at the high school.
Hi, everybody. They found something on the web, not me. My name is Jessica Hines, and I am the assistant principal over student engagement. So that encompasses attendance, engagement, and discipline, right? And so, yes, Mr. Guzman and I have been on a team for a very long time together. And so it's kind of a unique experience for us to be able to do the work that we're doing and be reflective and grow continually as leaders as we strive to make Urbana High School as awesome as we can.
Absolutely. And just for future years, I'm really excited about the work we're going to do 6 through 12 to make it cohesive and to see the results when they come into the 6th grade center and when they leave us their senior year to go beyond and they leave us. And so I'm excited for the work to come with that. And so getting to our presentation and looking at our data, we went back to the fall of 2022, as you can see, because that was the year before Hines and I and Kearns got to the high school. And so we wanted to highlight that there was 180 suspensions the year before we got there. When we came, we were able to bring it down to 137, and each year it has gone down since then. And as part of my philosophy as a leader is you got to keep going. You got to keep taking it down as low as you can go. And so that's what we're going to continue to do with every year and looking at what we need to do to take it to the next level. And so looking at the systems we put into place, what we've put into place, we're now in year 3. And so we've done 3 years of implementation. It's still not where we want it to be. We're still continuing to work on it. But what we do have in place is we do have a PBIS, but at the high school we call it MTSS. High school just has to be a little bit different. And so we call it something different. It's MTSS. And we focus our expectations around with students on being respectful, being kind, responsible, and being safe. And so we do have a matrix for every common area, whether it's in the commons, in the classroom, in the hallway, in the gym. They are posted in all those areas. It's an expectation that they're in all classrooms as well. And they are in English, Spanish, and French as well. We also have implemented the rule of the first and last 10 minutes. We try to protect that instructional time to keep hallways clear and to know who's not where they need to be. And so that has been in place for a while. We also do hallway sweeps randomly. Also with that, we do have established MTSS Tier 1, Tier 2 teams, along with the problem-solving Tier 3 team that we have for our students who need that extra support. And so our teams meet regularly, and they constantly look at data to see what our focus areas need to be in the high school. With that, with our Tier 1, actually Ms. Hines is over Tier 1 and that team. And so we have daily announcements. We have school-wide incentives. Right now, currently, we have a school-wide incentive for classroom behaviors where we're giving tickets out. Teachers are giving tickets out to students who are displaying the classroom behaviors we want to see. Students take that ticket. They go into the commons for lunch, and they put that ticket into a basket that they're interested in. And we have different things for them to pick from. And we're doing our second round of that this semester. We do expectations talk. We also have Academy 9, and this year we expanded to Academy 10, where we do our 7 mindsets focus, our SEL. We also have restorative conversations and circles with our students because at the high school we're always trying to be proactive in getting ahead of any issues, any student conflicts. When we hear about it, we get on it. Our deans are really amazing with Ms. Hines and the other administrators to get ahead of the issues and to make sure that we're responding instead of being reactive, we're being proactive with the work. And then a common thing that we always do is the student handbook. We review expectations, and for all our new students, they also get a brief review of what our expectations are, and so they know what could happen if they make a bad choice. And then also we have consistent dean meetings, and so I'll let Ms. Hines elaborate a little bit more on that as well, because we're a big school. We have over 1,000 students. We have 4 deans, and it's important for our deans to be consistent in how they address issues. And so, Ms. Hines, I'll let you talk about that.
Yes, so over the past 3 years, we have had a rotation of 2 or 50% of the deans. And so it is, through my own reflection, I have noticed that there are some things that we need to calibrate, right? And so it's in part helping them to collaborate and calibrate, for example, like, because they're split by alphabet. So it's many times may have instances where we're across the alphabet, right? And so working with them, we meet at least twice a month. Sometimes if we get some bonus time, we will meet. But we also have different topics that I try to bring up. So for example, looking at the whole student before assigning discipline. And that's taken some work, right? That's a lot of shift in thinking. And when you become a dean, depending on when it is, what the culture of school is like. And so now we're asking them to shift a little. So it's taken some time. And we also have worked extensively on discussing, coming up with strategic plans for, as deans, how do we work with families, right? How do we gain trust? How do we build relationships? So those are just a few of the things that we do spend that meeting time discussing and spending our energy on.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And then our Tier 1, as I talked about already, that applies for all our students. All our students have access to that. And then when we do notice, and the data does tell us that some of our students need some additional supports, some things that we have in place, our Check and Connect, where it's an informal, we have an adult that checks with a student, typically twice a day to start the day and end the day, just to see how they're going, to do the focus area with what we're noticing they're struggling with. We can also implement a CECO, a check-in and check-out, which is more formalized, where we have criteria set in place, so typically a few more things, and so it is a little bit more detailed than the check and connect that we do. We also have stage groups as well. I know Ms. Kearns already talked about that. We have that at the high school. We have a few groups running. We have engagement plans where we have students sign. They're essentially like contracts for focus things and that we want our students to commit to if they're having a conflict with somebody, to make sure that, again, we're not trying to be friends, but we're trying to live together, right, and coexist. And so we have plans, contracts in place for that. And then when needed, if we have to go to the problem-solving team for a Tier 3, we do have that referral process in place for that. We also are now really starting to shift from just purely behavior, culture, and climate time, looking at the academics as well for our students. We're in year 3 at the high school, Ms. Hines and I, and it's time to take it to that next level and really look at what's happening in the classroom to make sure we're closing those gaps for learning, right? And so we also are designating academic champions, where staff members are looking at some of our students that are struggling academically to make sure we are supporting them as well. Next slide, please. Or is that us? That's us, okay. All right, sorry about that, okay. Ms. Hines is going to talk for a few minutes here.
I just get really excited when I get technology right. Okay, so we do think it's important to share some numbers, and I know we've been talking a lot of numbers, but it even helped me wrap my brain around the work that I personally do every day in our district. 93% of the students at Urbana High School have not received any out-of-school suspension time. 93%. We do have some children that have received one incident of OSS. 64 students, so 5.5%. 1.2% have received 2 instances of out-of-school suspension. 14 kids out of 1,159. And out of 1,159, 5 students in our building have received 3 instances of OSS. To date, this year, no student has received more than 3 instances of an out-of-school suspension. And I think that really does speak to a lot of the work that we are doing to support students fully and wholly. And so with that, we have really tried to specifically focus on academic student growth, right? If the behavior, if the class, if class is engaging, students want to be there. They don't want to be where they're not supposed to be. And also just building those relationships, because with the positive culture and climate in our building, it's continually improving, right? So now we need to continue that, but then also blend it with the academic piece. And so we are focusing on our Avid Wicker strategies. I am a diehard Avid fan since mid-2000s when I worked in Kankakee. And it's just a phenomenal program, and so we are really trying to work that into all of the classrooms, right? And we are focusing on college and career pathways, helping our students understand. We have a lot of kids that come to school and they do school, right? And they don't always know all of the opportunities that are out there for them. And so having very specific conversations with students. Hey, what do you want to do when you leave high school? And kids may tell us, nobody ever asked me that. I said, well, we better get it figured out. So let's talk about it. What do you like? What do you don't like? Hey, did you know that you can take a class on this here at the high school? Just today, a student was like, how come I don't ever get to make cheeseburgers? It was Burger Day and Foods. And I said, well, you could sign up for Foods. And the kid looked at me, he's like, are you serious? I said, absolutely. Had no idea. Mm-hmm. So having those intentional conversations. So then we're also increasing students having 4-year student graduation plans. And the more that we can get them planning and get them excited about their next step in life, the better culture and climate we have, and more kids learning.
All right. We'll go to the last slide. Oh, there we go. Okay, so areas of focus. As I said, where we are is never good enough. We always got to try to go to that next level. And so where we're going to next at the high school and what we're going to continue to work on is CHAMPS. It's a district initiative. We are in year 1 at the high school. And so we are going to commit to really implementing CHAMPS throughout the building and in our classrooms. We're going to continue to work on increasing student time in class, decreasing the number of passes, because being real, we do have a lot of students that are able to get blue passes to leave class, and we're going to work on that collectively with both students and staff to make sure students are in class learning, to increase students' level of engagement in class. And so a part of that, just being honest, looking through and through, we really got to make sure our instructional strategies in the high school is engaging, that our students want to be in class, that they're being asked to take on the cognitive load, to think, to collaborate with each other, and to be problem solvers. And so with that also, we know that freshman year is a key foundational year for success, right? That first year will determine a lot for our students, right? And so we did a pilot of a Team 9 this year. Next year we are expanding for a Year 2 pilot for all freshmen. All freshmen will be on a team, a common group of teachers that they will have. And so we are able to have teachers being able to talk about students, being able to look at commonalities across the board, and how best can we serve our freshmen as they come in with that. Along with that, it's not on here, but we are in early talks with Dr. Taylor and Melissa Kearns about revamping our early warning system. And so we'll get a list of students coming from the middle school that we really want to wrap around to reach out to over the summer to make sure they have a successful transition to high school. And so we have had that before, but it hasn't been a tight system. But now that we are in Year 3, we've got some new administrators at the middle level. We really want to tighten that and revamp that system as well. And also just continuing to do our building-wide incentives to keep improving upon that. And we also put in here increasing stakeholder involvement. And for us, it's also really asking for the community to help donate things that our high school students are interested in. Because as being becoming young adults, older, from 16, 17, 18, it's harder to find things that they want. And so we are asking, and we have limited resources and limited things we can buy for them. And so like we can't do gift cards with school money. There are electronics we necessarily can't buy to give out, and those are things that we know they want. And so if we have any community partners out there that are willing to donate, I'm sure the 6th grade center and middle school will take that stuff as well. But, and if a car dealership wants to donate a car to us as well, I'm just putting it all out there because our student ambassadors, anything else that you think our students' body would love to get raffled off? That sounds good to you? Nothing else? Okay.
Had a car donated.
Years
Remember
ago.
that? Years ago,
but not since I've been here.
It was when
so.
I was here. Yeah, I was deputy superintendent, and we raffled it off for a good attendance.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
A whole
right.
car.
And we know that's a district
A whole
initiative.
car.
It's yes. And so attendance is one of our things
It was
we're working
used
on.
car, but it was a car.
So, yep. So,
Mr. Guzman, Apple.
Yes. Yep. All right. So, yep. That concludes the high school portion. Any questions for us?
Board members, any questions? I do have one. I appreciate the communication between the middle school and the high school, but there's a lot of mobility in this town. So we have students coming in from other communities at the beginning of the year and during the middle of the year. So how are those students' needs assessed when they arrive on your doorstep?
We do a review of their transcript when they come in, and Ms. Hines and I have been here in the community a long time, and that's where most of our students come from, whether it's next door or a neighboring school district. We reach out and we talk to the fellow school districts to make sure we have the appropriate supports in place for our students who are coming in, whether it be a behavioral need or even academic needs. And so it's that constant collaboration that we do, and then we just make sure that they have a good transition. We have meetings with them and even families beforehand on what classes they need to take, or even if it's the right fit for them, if we want to look at an alternative setting for them, just depending on where they come in with credits, what the needs might be of the student. And so again, we want to be very individualized when they come in. We have a protocol in place with our school registrar that she will flag things for us so we can meet with the family and the student ahead of time to make sure we're setting them up for success when they start with us.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes.
I'm wondering, what kinds of things are students doing that we're suspending them for? Is it mainly like physical fighting? Is it?
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Heinzel.
So as the administrator over that particular area. The bulk of our suspensions at the high school, if we're out of school, it is physical altercations. And I will say that those are going down every single year. We are upping our restorative practices with our students in multiple spaces and places, even within RU, to try to mitigate and help kids understand, like, do you really, like, this is not what you want, right? And so being that proactive, that's why we're seeing that go down. So that is the bulk of it.
And then second would be drugs that we
Yes.
see. Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
yeah.
Marijuana, like,
Yeah.
let's, I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's really important to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, so it's not for like tardiness or
No.
anything like, I mean, my brother took more than 4 years to get through school, and when he would skip school for some reason, then they'd suspend him for a day, and it's
Yeah, no,
like,
we don't
no.
do
I was
that.
thrilled.
No, because if you already have an issue coming to school, I'm not giving you a free pass to stay at home.
Yeah.
So, no.
I was gonna actually share district-wide physical aggression is the #1 referral from K-12. Verbal aggression and disruptive classroom behavior, especially in the littles. You know, they spend the majority of their day in one class all day long. And so we do see, you know, classroom, disruptive classroom behavior being more of a referral elementary-wise, but physical aggression and verbal aggression are our big top two district-wide, I'd say.
I don't know if it's important or not, but I spend a lot of time at the high school, usually 2 or 3 days a week, and it's a wonderful place to be with and interacting with the students. They're really engaging and they're kind, and I'm really appreciative of the time that I have with them. And I only can add, it's apple juice. They want apple juice.
Thank you.
And the popcorn was really popular today too. Yes, that Kim Kardashian popcorn. So yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Anyone else? This is a quick statement. These numbers, these reports are all incredible. I've been here a long time, and throughout most of my tenure on this board, these numbers have gotten worse and worse. And at times, frankly, up here, it's felt a bit hopeless that they would ever get better. So seeing this and seeing what you have done in the last 3 years has just made me feel so much better, and it's a testament to your hard work and yours as well. So thank you all.
And Chastity's gonna do our very last slide of key takeaways. John, if you wanna just go ahead and advance. Oh, she got it, okay.
All right. Good evening. I want to also thank all of our leaders. One thing that I wanted to note too, in addition, is they do a lot of collaborating on their own. We have spaces we bring them together as well, but those leaders talk to each other, so they have a strong sense of urgency and desire to collaborate and make sure our 612 systems are aligned. We all went away to a MTSS training about a month ago, and there was lots of conversation there too about some alignment and making sure that they're able to support one another, staff and students. So big kudos to our administrators for the work that they're doing within their buildings, but also collaborating with the other levels as well. And so key takeaways, as Dr. Ivy Tatum mentioned, that this is a part of our strategic planning, culture, and climate. And this also kind of lays into the disproportionality, which I shared a couple of months ago, which has decreased, right? And so all of these things that the teams are doing, the teachers, the leaders in the buildings as well are doing, are helping get to our overall decrease for the district from fall of 2022 to fall of 2025, that 47%. So we are seeing movement, good movement as well. And so some of the things that we want to ensure that we're doing to help focus our efforts, right, and really be on the same page is continuing our strategic plan, the ISB plan that we had to do, which has lots of things they named: restorative practices, professional development for SRSs, deans, and then working really with MTSS, our services that we're providing for students as well. And so strengthening those things that are already in the plan that many of the secondary leaders helped create last year. And so in 2024, 2025, that's when we started that plan, and we discussed that behavior continuum and some of the monitoring and accountability procedures for suspensions. And so prior to, I think that they were able to suspend, like administrators were able to suspend without having some type of conversation or oversight from district administrators. And so that changed. And so they do call Beth Ladd, if it's a student with IEP, to kind of collaborate on should it be a suspension or what are other things that we could do, and or having team meetings to support those students. And then they call Laura Taylor too when it's over over 2 or 3 days that they're trying to suspend, again, as just a layer of collaboration and conversation about what is going on with that student, and then like the follow-up of what supports we're putting in place afterwards. Every school last year started a culture and climate goal within their school improvement plans, and then some schools have biweekly, and then in secondary, monthly check-ins to review, culture and climate data, which is our discipline data, what PD and train and do staff need in order to support our students, and also just really thinking about how do we continue that decrease over time. So in this year, we started the strategic plan, and all of those things from 2024 kind of rolled into our strategic plan, culture and climate, which I oversee, and I work with a couple of groups, I work with, actually it's a big group, so we kind of split into 3 smaller groups in our culture and climate strategic plan committees, and they're from all levels as well. Some of the people who are PBIS leaders are there. We have some administrators there as well. So it's a good working group who really thinks about our CHAMPS training, how we're implementing that. They think about restorative practices, that's sense of self-belonging as well for students. As we discussed, restorative practices started this year. That training for our secondary SRSs, deans, and APs also attend as well, and it's to create that alignment. Like Ms. Kern said, our SRSs can be that triage for our students who just need someone to talk to, and then hopefully getting them back in the classrooms when they're regulated so they can get back to instruction. So another thing is Dr. Taylor has also provided some PD for our middle school deans as well, and we also have an AP leadership group as well that provides professional development, really trying to build the capacity of our APs. So Dr. Taylor does that. And then there are a group of us, with Miss Webster and Jackie Douglas. And so in addition to the things that they're doing at the building, how are we providing professional learning and a place for collaboration for those positions as well that didn't get it as much in the past. Then there's a group of us from the student learning group who have also began an emerging leaders group. So this is for aspiring leaders, like they want to be assistant principals, or some of them are just leaders in their building. And so we had a whole 3 sessions about culture and climate. We're kind of using the leaders paradigm with them, the same thing that Dr. Taylor uses to evaluate principals. And so what we're trying to do, and a lot of them on our SIP teams too, is build their capacity and create a shared, a distributive leadership roles and with them too. So we look at data, we give them scenarios, they see what it takes to be a school leader, right? And so really trying to have some empathy for our leaders as well, and grace. And they also problem solve and work on ways in which they can be a support to their buildings as well. I think we usually have about 25, Dr. Taylor? 25 teacher leaders from across the district regularly attend this, and this is something that they are, we put it out there, they volunteered. We don't pay them additional money to attend. We're just there to support them, and they show up. And so those are things that we're hoping to will over time make a great impact on school culture and climate with sense of belonging for our aspiring leaders, but also as they support the overall building as well. And then we're going to continue those monthly or biweekly check-ins, depending on the school. And for 2026, 2027, we're just looking for that continuous improvement. We want to make sure that we are focusing on those areas of improvement that each school kind of shared, but then continuing to layer in our coaching for champs, for our administrators, and all of the above practices, and really working the plan that is showing the decreases. And so I think that all the takeaways here is our administrators are working hard. We have an overall decrease that also shows in our ISB disproportionality plan. And then here, there are so many layers of things and supports that building administrators are doing within their own buildings, and then district support as well to work on these. Any questions for me?
Thank you. Questions, anyone?
The leaders training, I was wondering, you said people are volunteering, but are they, does somebody suggest this would be a good person?
We did go through a process, I think we started that last year sometime, where we had principals recommend, and then, so we went through that, but then we also offered it up to everybody, right? Because we know sometimes recommendations are good, but they can leave some people out, and some people just need to have the olive branch, right? extended to them. And we have 3 sessions per semester. So right now we are focusing on our systems domain. And so we are teaching those leaders all about like systems and buildings, data literacy, and being great communicators and collaborative partners. And so that's been our focus this time. We're excited. We have one at the end of March that we're excited about, getting them into some groups with their colleagues and really working through some of the same things that our leaders have to work through every day.
Yeah, it's a great, and again, it was their brainchild, and I've gone to a couple and seeing some of we have people there who have type 75s, basically their endorsement to be an administrator or principal, who have never chosen to go down that path because of whatever reason. And I think this is a great way for us to grow, like a grow your own. Because we try to push some of those people and say, you be a great administrator, you be a great assistant principal. But until they feel more confident, and so we're helping to grow their capacity. So as some of our great leaders like Mr. Guzman and other people who move on and, do other things, we have a pool of people that we have waiting in the wings that we're really supporting, who can be our future deans and assistant principals and even principals. So,
yeah.
Anyone else? All right, thank you all.
All right, thank you.
Our second administrative report tonight is on the district SCL curriculum.
Good evening, everyone. I have the pleasure of presenting our 7 Mindsets curriculum, which is our district's new social emotional learning curriculum for kindergarten through high school. We selected not to use the program for early childhood. We got feedback from early childhood that it just did not work for their age group. We did go to the school, we did practice it with one of the 7 Mindsets coaches, and it just does not fit their grant and their protocol. So that is why we're not doing it at early childhood. We did provide professional development training this summer. Staff members had 3 different dates for 6 options to attend the training in the summer, and they were paid from June 23rd, 24th, and 25th for 3-hour segments. So they had a morning time from 9 a.m. to noon, or they could do the afternoon from 1 to 4. And we also offered an additional training on August 11th because we know people do have summer lives and plans and vacation schedules. So we offered another training on August 11th for certified staff, and then any non-certified staff as well. What is 7 Mindsets? 7 Mindsets is a digital-based social emotional learning curriculum that works for all ages. It is a digital platform that allows us to make updates annually. And that is one of the benefits of the program, unlike a box curriculum where you're stuck with those materials until you purchase another one or supplemental materials to go in the box. 7 Mindsets allows you to update the material annually. It also gives teachers and students the opportunity to give feedback on the lessons and the resources, and they do read them, and they make feedback, and they make changes. The 7 Mindsets representatives were here February 13th, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but they have already applied some of the feedback from our district as well as other districts. What are the 7 Mindsets? They are everything is possible, passion first, we are connected, 100% accountable, attitude of gratitude, live to give, which is our current mindset of the month, and the time is now. Additional training that we have offered for 7 Mindsets is we have 7 Mindsets champions. Those consist of social workers and building administrators who are invited once a quarter to have a virtual meeting for an hour with our 7 Mindsets coach, Andrew Chismar. The first quarter meeting just for topics about how to navigate the platform, review of the platform, uses rates, and to remind the teachers to select the complete button. That is an issue that we've noticed when we have been reviewing our usage, is that there's a button at the end of each lesson that you have to select complete for it to register you've completed it. The teachers are still teaching the lesson, but it's just a nice way for administrators just to be able to give kudos and to say thank you for being on track with the pacing. And it also allows us to make sure that everybody is implementing the program with fidelity. Second quarter, the meetings involved asking questions about the program, receiving support to enhance implementation, and then teachers gave feedback, or social workers gave feedback about the program of 7 Mindsets. And then third quarter, we did not have a virtual check-in meeting because we had our second in-person training on February 13th. Our 7 Mindsets coaches came, they met with K through 2 first, then 3 through 5, then the 7-8 grade level, and then they ended their day with the 6th grade center as a refresh of 7 Mindsets, talking about the new changes and how to pair 7 Mindsets with champs, because we do know that as the school year progresses, behaviors intensify and needs change. So it was just a way to show how we can blend and braid the programs we already have in place with our SEL curriculum, which stands for Social Emotional Learning. I apologize for the acronym. This summer, we work with a group of teachers and social workers to develop how we were going to implement this program. It was very important to Dr. Ivy Tatum and I that we had teacher input. So it was not just Dr. Ivy Tatum and I in a room with other administrators. We had teachers and we had social workers. We had coordinators in our district sit down and work with us to decide what is this going to look like. So this beautiful chart on the screen was created by one of our teachers, Jessa Johnson. We incorporated our mindset of the month with our portrait of the graduate skill. Again, we are trying to streamline as much as possible. Some of the programs and materials that we created with that group were Mindset of the Month and Portrait of a Graduate charts. Each teacher received a set of these charts as well as the buildings to display on their boards. And the offices, we've asked principals to display them in the offices. Some schools have them on the doors. I was just at Lille yesterday and they have theirs on the door. Just a way, again, so that when community members, community partners, parents come into our buildings, it gives them a language to connect to of this is what we're focusing on this month. We also created Mindset Money, as well as positive referrals. We did paper referrals and digital referrals for the older grades. Mindset Champion of the Month certificate. So schools can nominate Mindset Champions of the Month. Each grade level has a Mindset Champion of the Month, as well as an adult Mindset Champion of the Month. Each champion receives one of these certificates. Adults receive a slightly nicer one, and the adults receive a t-shirt. There's also the Mindset Mover Award that the team this summer wanted to make sure that there was something in between a Mindset Champion and a Mindset Mover. They wanted children who are making progress toward achieving goals and improvement to be able to receive an acknowledgement. Opening day, and I apologize for going quickly. I'll take questions at the end. But opening day, we had 7 Mindset stations. We wanted to make sure that everyone in our district knew what the 7 Mindsets were. We wanted to give them an opportunity to be involved with the 7 Mindsets, so we had stations for each mindset. We had an Everything is Possible station where in this picture, people just wrote on a sticky note what their dreams were, and it was posted on a display wall in the middle school, and those stayed up for quite a while. The kids didn't bother them. They just kind of walked by and looked at them, but it gave everybody in our district, teachers, social workers, custodial staff, secretaries, everybody had the opportunity to participate in these stations. We wanted them to learn the language, and we wanted them to learn the importance of each mindset. We had a We Are Connected, which was one of our best stations, in my opinion, we just paired people together. We just told people to sit down. And people sat down that didn't know each other. They picked out a topic and they started talking. And there are pictures of that as well. And then the stations go on from there of each station. And then if you see the picture of the lady with the hat, those are the stations where people just had to sit down and talk about we are connected. And I wanted to take a picture of that because those are people who do not work together, normally aren't together, but we really wanted to show the importance of building connections. And we had a backdrop where teachers had to write on the paddle what they wanted to be remembered by, what was their legacy. And then an attitude of gratitude station where people wrote postcards to each other. They didn't have to deliver them. All they had to do was write the school name on them. We took care of the delivery, and people had nice postcards in their mailboxes when the school started because we wanted to start with an attitude of gratitude. 7 mindsets is for everyone, not just children, again, which is why we started the year with the mindset stations for everyone. Mindsets drive success at any age. It's all about the way that you think about things and how you focus on them. And each mindset focuses on a different area of life. 7 mindsets, K through 8, our illustrious secondary principals have already talked about this briefly, so I will go over this quickly. In K through 8, teachers facilitate 1 7 mindsets lesson each week, dividing the 30-minute curriculum components, which are the icebreaker, the quote, the hook, video, discussion questions, and activities into daily pieces. And then the instruction is supported by ongoing work in the 7 Mindsets Life Plan workbooks. For elementary, we did print copies of those for them. For 6 through 8, they have digital versions of them. And the Life Plan books help them go through setting goals and just focusing on plans for life. 9th through 10th grade, Mr. Guzman has already discussed this. They get lessons twice a week during this instructional time. They also complete activities in their digital Life Plan books. Monthly resources shared district-wide to support 7 mindsets. We have the SEL Spotlight, which is our monthly newsletter designed to support social emotional learning in the district, not only in the classroom, but also for adults. Each edition highlights the mindset of the month. Each SEL Spotlight is linked here. By the mindset of the month, you are welcome to review those if you have not done so already. And then there are testimonials, which I will not read, but we did get testimonials from students, elementary students, of what they like about 7 mindsets. And staff members also gave testimonials about the things that they appreciate about the mindsets. SEL Week, we just finished Social Emotional Learning Week last week, March 2nd through the 6th. All Urbana schools, Urbana Early Childhood, which the kindergarten prom, early childhood prom, they do connect social emotional learning to that. That is their social emotional learning event. All schools participated in social emotional learning for a variety of activities, focused on the 7 mindsets, read alouds, wellness activities, problem solving activities, vision boards, thankfulness trees, SEL shout outs. Some of the schools had 7 mindset spirit weeks of different themes connected to the mindset for each day of the week. In our SEL week, we had email messages that went out daily to all of the staff. Dr. Ivory Tatum kicked the week off with an email message and linked the March SEL Spotlight, as well as our SEL playbook and a video about social emotional learning. And then each day after that, I sent a message, which is linked to this document, with the mindset of the month and challenges for staff to complete. Any questions?
Board members, any questions? No.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a set of action items on our agenda for seeking approval this evening, starting off with 11.0 on our consent agenda is 11.1. The minutes for our February 17th business meeting, our February 24th district parent teacher advisory committee meeting, and our March 3rd study session. 11.2 is a request to seek approval to pay our February bills in advance because we don't have them all yet, but they'll be coming back to us at a future meeting. 11.3 are a set of personal items that were published in our agenda packet. 11.4 are interfund loans from working cash or transportation to the amount of $400,000, and from working cash fund to tort in the amount of $100,000. 11.5 is IHSA membership approval for the 2026-2027 school year. And 11.6 is a resolution authorizing and directing the sale or disposal of property in accordance with state law. These are a variety of compact discs. Is there, well, first of all, does anybody wish to have any of these individual items removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the entire consent agenda as read.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further questions, comments, or discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Hickson?
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Baxley?
Yes.
President Pulowski?
Yes, motion passes. Now to our individual action items. First up, our 12.1 are gifts. Roxana Alvarez and family donated a framed picture of the 2025-2026 UMS softball team, valued at $150, to the Urbana Middle School. An anonymous donor gifted a state championship commemoration plaque, Gemma Douglas, long jump champion, to the Urbana Middle School. Melissa Stone donated $100 to the Urbana Middle School band program. And John L. Roan IV donated $2,000 to the Urbana Middle School music program. Is there a motion to accept these gifts and send out the appropriate thank yous?
So moved.
Second.
We have a second. Any questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. It is now, what's coming up next are a series of motions that we're required to do by law every year. Basically informing employees of a change of status. That could be due to any number of things, from waiting on grant funding approval to other reasons. I'll let Angie kind of give a kind of administrative update on these upcoming resolutions up for approval.
Yep. So every year, this is the meeting that I dread, because I don't want our beloved staff to be looking for jobs elsewhere. But it is something that we have to do per Illinois School Code. Paul referenced that. And so because of the unknown grant funding for 26-27, we always have to RIF positions during this board meeting in March per the Illinois School Code. The acronym RIF means a reduction in force. When staff are RIFed, they have recall rights to their positions should grant funding be secured. Being RIFed has nothing to do with the staff member's job performance. This particular year, we have fewer RIFs at the district level due to various grant cycles, not needing classroom adjustment, teaching assistants, varying enrollment needs for the multilingual department, and so on. Also this year, we have more RIFs at adult ed, which was strategic by district administration to do the best we can to ensure none of our staff, again, start looking for positions. It's important to share a bit more information about the strategy that was used in our RIFs at adult ed. So last spring, 2025, we were given our Illinois Community College Board, ICCB, allocations for the fiscal year 26. The federal grant allocation was initially more than 60% lower than adult ed had received the previous year. And so initially we were told that we were going to receive 33% of the funding that we had received the previous year for this school year. The funds, thank goodness, were eventually reinstated, and they were made available later this fall, but many months passed before we knew that adult ed would be funded. This upcoming year is a little different because it's a competitive grant year for all of our ICCB funds, so both state and federal. While adult ed has been consistently funded for many years, there's always no guarantee for the funding for the next year. So in order to ensure all full-time staff have a job next year, Director of Adult Ed Shauna Shear has recommended reducing calendar days until we know our funding allocations. The reduction in calendar days are minimal and do not impact the programming for students during the regular school year. If we don't receive the anticipated funding, we will need to cut summer school for 2027, which is the reason for the reduction of staff of the work days for teachers and 12-month support or clerical staff. Once we secure funding, our hope is to increase all of the staff members' days back to where they were, so that our summer school programming in 2027 can take place, and also giving our teachers additional days between the fall and spring semester to be able to plan for their upcoming classes. And so I just wanted to share a little bit more. I had several follow-up questions that I wanted to ask Shauna and look into myself so that I could, to share this information with the board, because we have a little bit longer list than usual for adult ed. And, you know, also our normal RIFs that are used to being RIFed every year, it doesn't, I mean, it still doesn't feel great because it feels like you're not valued by the district unless grant funding comes in. And that's not necessarily the case. We just need to be able to see if it's been paid by a grant, we're going to have to see from budget purposes if we're going to be able to afford it, whether or not it's adult ed, whether or not it's the farm to school program, whether or not it's a TA who provides language support. So lots of different factors. It's not a fun process at all.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
So I did have a board member ask or anticipate that we would have had more RIFs just from our regular everyday programming.
Yep.
And thankfully, you know, there was a time in the spring where we thought we were going to experience significant cuts in our grants like Title I and things like that. And that did not come to place. So we did all kinds of planning this summer and in the spring, thinking we were going to have to reduce, and we received all of our funding, and we've actually received more. So we received a recent allocation from Title maybe a month ago, 3 weeks ago. Yeah, so just recently, they've given us additional funds. We've received additional funds for all of our designated schools through Illinois Empower. So we did not bring any of those grant-funded people or RIFs or positions to the board tonight, because right now we don't know what the future is going to bring. Just the fact that we received our level funding and then additional funding throughout the school year has left us very optimistic that next year we will not have to be riffing positions. But however, just like adult ed, we never know what will happen. But at least we know for now we can bring back all of the folks paid through our grants for next year. We might be having a very different conversation next March.
Right.
But for now, again, we never want our, you know, most of the folks in our title grants are our co-teachers and our CITs, and our student engagement advocates are right now in year 2 of a 3-year grant. So next year, when that grant ends, the TAOP grant ends, next year we might be bringing forward those RIFs until we find out if we receive the TAOP funding again. So that is why you didn't see very many RIFs or from the just regular academic programming, the school-based grants that we have.
Thank you both for that context.
I have a question.
You go ahead.
When do you think we would learn more about the farm to school?
So what has happened in the past, and Jenny's here this evening, is that the farm to school program has always been completely funded through Sola Gratia, and then the coordinator also, like her kind of part-time gig, is looking for grants to oh, it's not? Okay. Okay, come on up, Jenny. Come on up, Jenny. Sorry. Yes. So sorry. No, on the microphone. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say that Sola Gratia did get some grants in the beginning, 2020 and I think 2022. But USD has held the farm to school grant for the past 2 years, and it expires June 30th. And I did apply for 2 USDA grants to fund us for the following year. We won't find out probably till mid-June to mid-July if we get funded through those. Sorry.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
hopefully
thanks,
soon
Jenny.
enough. So.
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, Jenny, you know, and she and I had a conversation, has been on the list for quite a few years, and it's never, you know, it's not great to feel like that, you know, that you're not being valued. And so it has been a grant funded position, and it's hard for us to figure out where we're going to put that in the budget, unless we have to. So
Right.
thanks.
you.
I know another program that I used to work with too was a CU Early program.
We have one of those too.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that-
we have a See You Early RIF as well.
But it's not
on
the entire
list.
staff, it's
It's
just.
not the entire
okay.
staff.
So that program can still continue?
Yes.
Okay.
But in past years, we've had multiple staff members from, and so it truly varies from year to year. Some bright news while we're talking, though. Tracy Welch is one of the names that's on the public document, so I can say that. And she is funded through the teacher vacancy grant. And there is a possibility that additional, I mean, it's supposed to end this year, but there is a possibility of it continuing. We don't know. It may or may not impact her position, but that is hopeful to get additional funds to be able to support our initiatives with recruitment. So.
So, while the floor is open, any other questions in general? We'll have a series of about 6 of these resolutions. Okay, let's go through these one by one. 12.2 is a resolution authorizing honorable dismissal of full-time grant-funded educational support personnel. This affects one person. Is there a motion for the floor?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Baxley?
Yes.
President Pulowski?
Yes.
Member Hickson?
Yes.
12.3 is resolution authorizing honorable dismissal of full-time educational support personnel. Again, this affects one person. Is there a motion for the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Vice President Baxley?
Yes.
President Pulowski?
Yes.
Member Hickson?
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes.
Motion passes. 12.4 is a resolution authorizing dismissal of part-time grant-funded educational support personnel. Again, this affects one person. Is there a motion for the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
President Pulowski?
Yes.
Member Hickson?
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Baxley?
Yes.
12.5 is a resolution authorizing dismissal of part-time grant-funded educational support personnel. This resolution affects two people. Is there a motion for the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Hickson?
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Baxley?
Yes.
President Pulowski?
Yes. Motion passes. 12.6 is a resolution authorizing dismissal of part-time educational support personnel. This resolution affects 6 people. Is there a motion for the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Can I make a statement?
Yes.
Okay. This is coming from my heart as well as from my head. I've been in adult ed for 35 years when I count up all these years. And it really troubles me that the adult education profession staff receives RIF notices almost each year. And it's the same here as in other programs as well. It is the result of being funded by inconsistent and unreliable federal and state funding. It should not be a sign that this program is not important to our district or to our community. Learning is a lifelong endeavor. Many adults who did not succeed in school as young children or as teens have the opportunity to continue their education to achieve their personal educational and their career goals in adult education classes. It is because the district has supported this opportunity for adults, many who have children in our schools and who want to be good role models for their children or be involved in their education and help their children learn. Adult education is not only for adults, but there are students who drop out of high school for a variety of reasons. They enroll in adult education classes because they want to achieve their educational goals. They just need a different path. Shauna indicated that there were 71 teens between the ages of 16 and 18 who enrolled in adult education classes this year. 39 were Urbana students. Okay, this is where my kind of gets sketchy because I just started writing, but please bear with me. I've heard people say that our district needs an alternative school. Urbana adult education is such a school. Our community is small and we were able to keep up with prior graduates. Last year I spoke about 2 such students and read a passage that one wrote. I ran into him over the weekend and he told me he got a new job and he was really enjoying it. Perhaps this new job was because of the mock job interviews that he practiced. and it helped him to get a job at Urbana Adult Ed. Another student that I talked about last year was going to get her bachelor's, and I think this is the semester that she's going to complete her very last course and receive her BSW. There are also 3 attorneys that we know of that attended Adult Ed. One is working in a local government office here. And a person who was honored as one of the 40 under 40 recipients was an Urbana Adult Education graduate, and their child is going to be receiving his diploma at the end of this year from the Urbana High School. A recent personnel sheet by HR indicated that a former graduate was hired at one of our local schools in Urbana, and he recently got a new job, and I think it's a promotion in the district, and he has more responsibilities working directly with children. And I spoke to the principal tonight, and she said he was doing a terrific job. And then there is a text that I got from a student just last week who asked me to attend her graduation in Indiana this spring. She received her high school diploma 10 years ago, and it has taken 10 years for her to earn her associate's degree. Her associate's degree. Each student has a story and his or her path, and it was due to the opportunities at adult education that helped them to continue to reach for their potential. So it makes me sad that what is a profession is dwindled down to a part-time job. This isn't an option at this time. Oh, I'm sorry, there isn't an option at this time if this program is going to be continued in our community. I can't support this proposal at all, or this motion, but I guess I have to.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry.
If anybody questions the value of this program, please attend the graduation. There's nothing in what I've done here that's more uplifting than hearing the stories from the people who walk across that particular stage. I'm sorry, I can't remember if there's a motion on the floor or not. Let's just
Yes.
do it. There is, okay. Then a roll call vote is in order, unless someone else wants to speak. Roll call, please.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Baxley?
Yes.
President Pulowski?
Yes.
Member Hickson?
Yes.
12.7 is a resolution authorizing honorable dismissal and reassignment of full-time educational support personnel, reduction in days assigned. This affects 6 individuals. Is there a motion for the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further questions, comments, or discussion? Roll call, please.
Vice President Baxley?
Yes.
President Pulowski?
Yes.
Member Hickson?
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes.
Motion passes. That concludes our action items for this meeting. There is no call for future special or executive meetings, but I think building committee is coming soon. Okay, waiting on Ben, I guess, to approve the doodle poll. Superintendent's report.
Okay. So this is another great celebration. I'm really excited about bringing back the 5th grade transition days. So if you've been in the district long enough, you probably remember that years ago, our 5th graders would take a field trip to Urbana Middle School to see the school, talk to a lot of the teachers, get to visit a team, and just get to have a day of experiencing what it would be like to be a middle schooler. Now that we have the 6th grade center, and we can do that on a much smaller scale, and it isn't as intimidating and kind of overstimulating to be doing that in a much smaller space, we are very excited to bring back 5th grade transition day. So each of our 5th graders will have a morning to visit the 6th grade center over the next 5 weeks after spring break. We're starting week to week, and the students will tour the building. They will participate in various activities. They get to go to the gym, the library. They'll sit in the multipurpose room and hear a presentation about their elective classes. So several staff members, along with Ms. Carr, will share what their elective class options are. We will be sending the elective class information out to the parents first, So parents will receive that information on Monday and have an opportunity to sit down with their students and talk about the possible electives. And then on Wednesday, when the students are there in person with their teachers from the elementary school, they will learn more about those electives and then have an opportunity to choose what they'd like to take next year. So we're really excited to give them a chance to walk around in their new school as the next sixth grade class, and we really are trying to make it a great experience for them. UMS Wrestling, so Quinn Fonner. Quinn is the first ever, I was told, ever Urbana Middle School wrestler to qualify for state. So Quinn will be competing in the IESA State Wrestling Tournament this Friday and Saturday in DeKalb. So we send lots of good thoughts to Quinn and wish him all the best of luck. So he's already represented Urbana Middle School really well, and we can't wait to see what he does there at the state tournament. Read Across America. So as you can tell from the pictures, we had a lot of fun. So thank you to everyone who participated. Thank you, Sherry, for her leadership and for the committee. I got to be a celebrity greeter again. I always love to do that and see all the smiles of the little ones coming in. We had little ones walking in, little young, really young kids coming in to learn more about books. And it's always great. They get to go to station and hear stories, and then they get a free book. They get their own book at the end to walk out with. So seeing them come in and out is the kind of a highlight of the year for us. So we had a huge crowd again. It was a great day to be in Urbana for Read Across America, and just so many smiles and lots of really just seeing people from all over the community is really nice, and how many people volunteer, like the Rotaries and so many community service groups. Our UEA has a table, so our teachers union is out there greeting families. So it's just a great day, and it's kind of what Urbana is all about. Even though I know it's a county event, and everybody's invited. It really feels like you're seeing everyone from Urbana when you're there. So
You can have it any other place.
yes,
But also the UEA has also been a sponsor every year
Oh,
for many
nice.
years.
Thank
So we
you for
really
sharing
appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. Spring break. So Thursday and Friday are student-led conferences, Thursday evening and Friday morning. And then next week, central office is open, but our schools are closed for spring break. So enjoy your time off, and we look forward to seeing everybody back on Monday, March 23rd.
Thank you. There was a FOIA that was processed and is published in our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will see you all in April.